What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Monday Market Data Report. I am your co-host of the STR Investing Podcast, Mark Lumpkin, and this week I am bringing you a pretty cool market. We're going to talk about the hard numbers, we're going to talk about travel demographics, what's hot in that market, and what the amenity stack is, what your competition has, what you have to compete with, and how you can differentiate your property if you are going to invest in it. And this series is backed by popular demand. A lot of people have asked about it. If you guys have a market that you're interested in or you're curious about, shoot me a DM, send me an email, drop a comment on social media. Happy to break down that market for you guys. We've just been ripping through our list, but if you guys have one you want to hear about sooner rather than later, let me know about it. So let's get into it. Without further ado, this week's market is Galveston, Texas, on the Gulf Coast. Galveston is a very interesting market. There are a total of 6,000 active listings. In the last 2 years, supply has jumped over 50%, which is insane. It's been a hot market on different blogs, Airbnb, Rabu, things like that, and investors have flocked to Galveston, Texas. It's interesting because it's actually one of the markets with the most homes for sale right now too. There's well over 1,000 properties for sale in this market. Kind of makes it a buyer market. You got a lot of people that came into this market over the last couple of years, and a lot of people are struggling and they're selling properties. And so it could be a market to come in, stand out, do really, really well, get a good buy on it if you understand what you need to do in order to be successful. And so let's talk about the nightly rate. Average nightly rates are between $250 and $310, with occupancy between anywhere from about 38 to 48%, depending on what your bedroom bathroom count is and what the month of the year is. So we see a flux in obviously nightly rate and occupancy depending on those two things. Here's the kind of the key drivers of Galveston, Texas. If you don't know it very well, it is definitely a driving market. Houston Metro has a little over 7 million people. That's one of the biggest reasons that you get travelers to Galveston on the weekends. And then you also have the cruise factor. Remember, 4 million cruise passengers leave every year out of Galveston, Texas. And so they're going to need pre and post-stay rentals. These are usually just 1 or 2 night rentals on the front end of the cruise and on the back end of the cruise. Our demographics are very heavily families and Gen Z. 86% of Gen Z travelers are thinking about like what they call nearcations, domestic travel, something they can just drive to or get to in a couple hours. And Galveston ends up being one of those hot markets for a lot of people. And so think about that. You've got a lot of pre and post cruise travelers, and you've got a lot of families and younger travelers coming from Houston Metro. And so what are the hot events? Well, the Lone Star Rally draws in about 400,000 visitors a year. Mardi Gras is huge. Mardi Gras in Galveston, it's the 3rd biggest Mardi Gras event in the US. And then there's a whole bunch of other stuff. You got youth sports, a couple of corporate summits, things like that. And then obviously just the beautiful Gulf Coast beaches of Galveston. And so it's a super hot market. There's a lot of travel that comes into this market, but there's also a boatload of supply. Definitely had a lot of people invest in that market over the last couple of years. And so what can you do if you're coming into this market and you want to stand out, you want to differentiate your property, and you want to be unique? Well, let's break down the amenity stack. What do people have? We always talk about how amenities can help you differentiate yourself. Well, this is what they have. 34.9%, essentially 35% of short-term rentals in Galveston have swimming pools. Outside of Florida, that's the biggest number I've seen. If you don't have a pool, it's going to be tough to compete when well over 1/3 of people have pools. And that's going to be one of the big drivers of what's going to drive revenue and how you can stand out your property. You pretty much have to have a swimming pool. Number 2, at 29.3%, is fire pits. A lot of people have fire pits. It's one of those things that you're going to need a pool and a fire pit combo if you want to compete. They're not nice to haves, they're must haves. Number 3, waterfront. Obviously, the real estate dictates that, but about 27% of short-term rentals in Galveston are waterfront. That's going to be a huge deciding factor. Waterfront properties always bring a premium and always book up first, especially in beach towns. Number 2 is a hot tub. You're going to have a little over 20% of short-term rentals in this market have hot tubs. And guys, those are the 4 big ones: waterfront, pool, hot tub, fire pit. a huge percentage of people have these amenities. And so it's going to be hard to stand out with just those alone. You're going to compete with at least a third of the market. You have to have them if you're going into this market. Now let's get into the stuff that can be unique and can help you stand out. The first one is has a game room. About 11% of short-term rentals in Galveston have game rooms. That can be a huge way to stand out. Remember, a lot of these houses are sitting on stilts and they're one-story properties. They don't usually have a lot of extra space, and so that's probably why we don't see a lot of game rooms, but it can be a way to stand out if you find a property that has the space and has the area that you can put a game room. 4.4 have gyms, which surprises me. Oftentimes in drive-to destinations where you're driving from a huge city to the short-term rental for the weekend, we see a lot of properties have gyms. Remote workers love that. Adult travelers love that. People can go spend a week or two at your property and not break their routine, but only 4.4% have gyms. That can be a good key to unlock. The next one, pool table, obviously goes with the game room. Only 11% have game rooms. Only 3.4% have pool tables. That can be a great way to stand out, the combo of a game room and a pool table. Pickleball court. Dude, this one's crazy, guys. I've actually done a pickleball court in Galveston. We posted an aerial photo. There was 100 short-term rentals in this aerial photo. There was only one set up by us that had a pickleball court. It was the only one of 100, which makes sense because less than 2.2% of short-term rentals in Galveston have pickleball courts. That is an immediate unlock. Most of these lots have the space, and you can install it in a flood zone in most of these municipalities, but most people don't. So there you go. Pickleball court can really help you stand out. Mini golf, even less people have it, 1.5%. That can be a way to stand out. Movie theater, less than 1% have it. Great way to stand out. And a sauna, less than half of 1% have it, less than 0.05. So less than 1% have a sauna, guys. You can definitely stand out in this market still. You've got to have a property that gives you the space to do a pool, a fire pit, a hot tub. You're probably going to have to stand out with a pickleball court, mini golf, and a game room. If you do that, you will create a very unique property that has limited competition. If you don't amenity stack and you think you're going to get away with just a hot tub or just a pool, you're going to have a tough time competing in a market with over 6,000 short-term rentals. Guys, let me know what you want to hear next. Hopefully you enjoyed the breakdown on Galveston, Texas, and we will catch you this Friday for another guest speaker. Thanks for being part of the STR Investing Podcast. See ya.